Hi, today I'm out in Montrose and I'm here with my good friend OTIS the Hound, and we're here to pay our respects to a decorated World War II hero. A hero with a difference, a hero that was a dog called Bamse, and I'd like to tell you his story. Bamse was a St Bernard dog who started off his life in the far north of Norway in a town called HONNIGSVAG. His owner, Erling Hafto, was the captain of a whaling boat called the Thorod, and Bamse would spend his days out at sea with Captain Hafto on the boat. Now, at the onset of the Second World War, the Thorod was drafted into the Royal Norwegian Navy as a coastal patrol vessel based in Hammerfest. As Bamse was already a member of the crew of the whaling boat, he was made an official Navy crew member on the 9th of February 1940. After the Nazi invasion of Norway on the 9th of April 1940, the Thorod was made part of the naval opposition to the Germans, and eventually it became one of the 13 Norwegian Navy vessels that managed to escape and make their way to Scotland, arriving on the 17th of June 1940. The whaling boat Thorod was quickly converted into an armed minesweeper at the Rosyth Naval Shipyard and then was stationed in Montrose and Dundee. Bamse lifted the morale of the ship's crew and became really well known to the people of Montrose, especially the children who loved to spend time with him. In battle, Bamse would stand on the front gun tower of the boat, decked out in a special metal helmet made for him by the crew of the Thorod. He didn't at all seem fazed and was a very bold dog. Now, the sailors loved Bamse and they had a whip round to buy him a bus pass, which he proudly wore around his neck in a plastic wallet. The bus drivers would stop whenever they saw him, and he would jump on board and make his way to the top deck of the bus. He seemed to be aware that dogs were not allowed downstairs. Now, he was known to travel around Montrose and even as far afield as Dundee on the buses, but he always made his way back to the Thorod in time for its next sailing. Locals reported seeing the St Bernard regularly rounding up wobbly sailors from the Montrose pub and guiding them back to their boat. He really was a valued member of the Thorod's crew. Now, in September 1940, Captain Hafto was posted to the patrol vessel Nordkapp, which was patrolling off Iceland, and was told he would have to leave Scotland. Now, of course, Captain Hafto wanted to take his faithful dog with him, but the crew thought differently. Bamse had become essential to the morale of the ship, and the crew had watched as he'd shown great courage when the vessel was in action. He'd not cowered below decks, but had stood in the bow acting as inspiration for the crew. So the crew had a meeting with the captain. They said they didn't want him to take Bamse with him. They threatened that they would not return to sea without the dog as part of the crew. So, realising that the morale of the ship was critical, Captain Hafto agreed to lend Bamse to the crew until the war was over. In the summer of 1942, Lieutenant Commander Olaf Nilsson, a crew member on the Thorod, was taking a leisurely walk along the quayside when he was jumped by a ne'er-do-well. The mugger pulled a knife and threatened the Norwegian sailor. Now, suddenly, out of nowhere, a very peed off Bamse appeared. Now, unlike most dogs, he didn't bark or growl. No, he stood up on his back legs well over 6 feet and pushed the thug off the quayside into the water. Now, later in 1942, when berthed in Dundee, one of the Thorod's crews fell overboard. Now, Bamse quickly raised the alarm by barking loudly, but when none of the nearby sailors did anything to help, Bamse decided it was down to him, and he dived into the water, swam out to the man, and then brought him back to the quayside. Now, St Bernards are not really known as water dogs, and they're not known for their swimming, but Bamse managed to drag the semi-conscious sailor all the way to the quayside, where the sailors then helped him get him out of the water. As World War II went on, Bamse's story became well known, becoming not just one ship's mascot, but the mascot for the whole Royal Norwegian Navy, and then for all of the Free Norwegian Forces. An iconic photograph of him wearing a Norwegian sailor's cap was used on patriotic Easter cards and Christmas cards during the war, and the PDSA made him an official Allied Forces mascot. Bamse died of heart failure on the dockside at Montrose on the 22nd of July 1944. He was buried with full military honours. Hundreds of Norwegian sailors and Allied servicemen, school children and townsfolk from Montrose and Dundee lined the streets to attend his funeral. He didn't live long enough to be reunited with Captain Hafto. Bamse was posthumously awarded the Norge Hundorden, the Norwegian Order of Dogs, on the 30th of September 1984 for his service in the war. And then in 2006 he was awarded the PDSA Gold Medal, sometimes known as the Animals George Cross, for gallantry and devotion to duty. And he was the only animal to receive this for service in World War II. Bamse's grave is still here in Montrose, just off Ferry Road in the eastern section of the new Montrose harbour. People still come here to pay tribute to the much loved St Bernard. The grave is tended and looked after by the people of Montrose. On the 17th of October 2006, this larger than life-sized bronze statue of Bamse was unveiled on Montrose's Wharf Street. Many people attended the unveiling, including Vist Hafto, the daughter of Bamse's original owner, Captain Erling Hafto. On the 16th of May 2009, the Royal Norwegian Navy cutter transported a second statue of Bamse from Scotland to HONNIGSVAG in the north of Norway. And on the 19th of June 2009, school children from HONNIGSVAG and from Montrose unveiled the statue at HONNIGSVAG's harbour. The statue of Bamse at HONNIGSVAG faces southwest towards Montrose, and the Scottish statue faces northeast towards HONNIGSVAG. Well, I hope you enjoyed that bit of history. No camp in this video, but in the next one I'll be out somewhere wild, probably eating noodles, and maybe I'll even take Otis with me. So until the next video, I'll say ta-da. Ta-da!